Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 2, Episode 51, the final episode of 2022. Holy shit. What
I
is
know,
going
man.
on? It's your boy, Justin, a.k.a. Nemesis Prime. We are currently live on YouTube doing a live show. If anybody's popping on here, we're going to have maybe some people pop in. And, of course, got my man out in Texas, Zach. What's going on, man? How are you?
Dude, it's crazy to think this is first off, the end of 2022, right? Which just felt like, I don't know, 2021 obviously had like the COVID era and was like the longest year of all time, it felt like. But 2022 it's definitely felt like it was a pretty long year as well. And then not to mention, we're at what? Was this post 102 episodes or 101?
101.
101, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I mean, we talked about this last week on the podcast, being our 100th episode. And it honestly kind of feels like we've been doing this for a really long time already. So,
yeah, I don't know. I feel like last year was kind of slow, definitely because of the fact that there was not really any conventions, not really anything, right. Even local shows, right? There was no local shows for us. For the most part, it really didn't start picking up until the end of 2021. And now 2022, it's back. Like conventions are back. You and I went to, a few. I was out in WonderCon for the first time. There's a ton of people. So, but yeah, it's great. So, yeah, everybody. So appreciate everybody that is stopping in here. Again, if you want to join us, let us know. We will throw you the link. If not, you could, of course, listen to this on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Anchor FM, or the Rewind here on YouTube. So, go ahead.
I guess I was thinking we bullshit a little bit before we actually get into our
Oh yeah,
our lists and stuff. But I posted obviously on Instagram as well, and I was kind of wondering if we'd get any what's the word I'm looking for? Detractors, possibly, who may want to like get on. I thought that would be kind of funny.
Special people,
special individuals, but we'll see. Let's talk some Fortnite. Let's talk some Fortnite while we're warming up.
Yeah. So Zach and myself have started playing Fortnite for the first time, and I haven't played Fortnite since. I guess you could look at your career, right?
Right.
And it showed the last time I logged into Fortnite was like a year ago, and then before that was probably like 2 years ago. So like I am terrible at this game, but I'm actually starting to get into it, right? Like playing duos, playing trios with our buddy Jeff from Comic Dunes, and then sometimes we get a fourth and we'll play 4 people, but it's the worst, right?
Yeah, I think I'd have to check for sure, but I'm pretty sure I was playing earlier this year. And then on Xbox, though, it was the first time playing on PlayStation. And I kind of go on and off. I mean, that's kind of the thing with Fortnite. And honestly, I feel like one of the best things about Fortnite is like you can play for a good couple months, man, and be like, oh, this is so much fun. Then it can get kind of old, right? And then you come back like 4 or 5 months later and you can pick it back up and it's still exciting. The maps have changed. There's like new weapons. There's new fun shit to do. And you find partners. Like I've typically always played alone. So it is kind of fun to have like you and Jeff and like logging on and we play together, just talk shit and wreck people. So,
oh yeah,
I mean, we finish top 5 at the worst almost every time we play.
Yeah, and it's there's like very few times where we both land and have no weapons and both get killed, and then it's like, all right,
right.
Obviously that last match you were on the phone, I was dealing with stuff that was going on in the house, but it's funny. Like I remember, I guess the last time I played, obviously this season they have that hammer. The last time I played, they had like the plunger gun. Did you play when they had the plunger gun?
Yeah,
it was almost like that's how like
you could get places with it.
Yeah, like that's like the way that you traverse. Yeah,
I remember that, and then I remember what was super prevalent. We talked about this earlier. Was the warps? Like, there was a lot of rifts that you could get, and there was I don't remember what it was, but you would shake it. It was like a crystal or something. You shake it, and it automatically give you a warp. And you would do that a lot. It was like the rift crystal or something like that. I thought that was really cool. That was fun. It sucked though because you'd be like blasting someone and then they would use it and get away.
Oh, of course.
Quick. But
yeah,
I would also do the same if I was getting blasted and I'd get away real quick. But
definitely. So for 2023, for the people that are listening, we want to, we're going to try to start changing some things up for 2023. We're not going away anytime soon. It's still going to be our weekly podcast. Of course, you could always send us messages directly to Instagram or to either one of our Instagrams, the podcast Instagram, or the Comic-Con podcast at gmail.com. We've had quite a lot of guests over this past year.
Yeah.
Some artists, some writers, of course, people in the YouTube content creator community, which has been a lot of fun. We've done shows. It's been an absolute blast this entire year.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for 2023. I'm definitely going to start trying to think of things to do for 2023. Of course, before we get into anything, we want to thank a lot of people that have come on the show. A lot of first timers, right, Zach, this year?
Yeah. I mean, last year we had a lot of reoccurring guests, and I feel like this year we didn't do that as much. We had a lot of more first timers this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we did, earlier than the year, we did, we'd had an all female month. We did, it was like August or September, we did all Canadians. So, we're trying to, spread the love. We want to always support the YouTube content creators, people that are in the community, people that we feel like you all should be following other than ourselves. So, before we get into everything, there's the big news that, there's something that we've obviously been not talking about here on the podcast, but it's been the shakeup is the whole DC James Gunn thing, right?
Yeah, man. I don't know. We haven't talked about that. And that's been like, 2 weeks old now. And we've kind of, we've just been busy with like different interviews. And obviously we had Eric July on here and other people, and we just haven't talked about it. So yeah, let's get into that real quick. What are your initial thoughts? Well, I feel like I've thought about this for sure. For you, is you definitely, and we always joke. I always joke about it about you, as you don't like the humor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and James Gunn definitely leans heavier into humor, and we've always talked about how DC should lean heavier into the darkness. So, like, what are your thoughts about James Gunn being a DC guy, kind of taking the helm?
I don't think it's going to change too much, to be honest. You have to even look at like pre-Snyderverse, right? Like look at all those movies. Like there's never been like a movie that has been comedy driven, whether it's Superman Returns, any of the Nolan trilogy, any of the Batmans before it, anything else that's come out, like, Constantine, even like Jonah Hex, Green Lantern. Obviously that is a joke, but
you said Jonah Hex. That's might be like one of the worst movies of all time.
I know, but I'm still going deep into that DC, right? So it's not like a comedy thing, but I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. I think what happens in Flash, like, is going to be a big shakeup, right? Like they supposedly remove some scenes with Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot, so they're both gone. Obviously, Zachary Levi.
Still in it?
I don't even know.
I can't remember if he got removed as well, because didn't he take over Michael? Because Michael Keaton got removed as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
So, but like, I mean, you think about the two movies that the two things we have with James Gunn DC. Obviously, we have the Suicide Squad and we have Peacemaker, and both are very comedy driven and not like kind of. They both feel very, very Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's what we have as well for like the Marvel universe, right? So I don't know, dude. And I just don't know how you go do. I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of hope. I think it's tough. I get the idea, and I know there's all these people on the internet who both sides piss me off. Like the people are like, "Oh, this is gonna suck," or like the people are like, "Don't be a dick," and like, "Oh, you guys are Snyderverse people." Like, you can be in the middle, man, and wonder like, how is this new DC universe going to take off without your big three? Because he's gonna have to start and do things without the big three, because you can't just recast them right now. And some of those recasts, dude. I mean, Affleck, okay, like he's probably the one who can be recast the easiest, because I don't know if people liked his depiction as much as like Henry Cavill or Gal Gadot. I mean, those two are going to be really tough to recast.
Agreed.
I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of hope. I don't think DC and Warner Brothers have given us much like faith in it. You know what I mean? To hope. Like they haven't been good. Let's say that. Like there's no clout for DC and Warner Brothers right now for me to be like, oh, they'll do good.
Yeah, you know what's interesting though? Like the difference between DC and Marvel is that where Marvel's at now. Like, yeah, they did the 10 years and they had all their legacy characters, and now they're kind of bringing in these newer characters. Is the fact that like DC's characters have been around for just as long as the legacy characters have been, right? So I think that what they need to do is they need to do kind of like two sides. They need to do the original characters, right? Like, yes, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, but they also still need to introduce the younger team and still do, and even lead into like a Teen Titans, right?
Right.
Because obviously Robin, Speedy, any of those, like they're all old characters, like Kid Flash, like they're not new characters. They're not like 80s or 90s or even early 2000s, like a lot of the Marvel characters. Like you look at what Kate Bishop, Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, Riri, Shuri, they're all like within the past 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years max. Yeah.
So at least like those characters, like people already know them. They're already established. It's not like, well, who's this? Like they've already been doing that. So James Gunn could have a direction for like a not like a YA, but you know what I mean? Like a young adult and then an adult based, universe. I don't know. Universe. Exactly. So that's where I'm actually hoping for. Like, I'm hoping they introduce the younger characters sooner rather than later. And it's not like building up for, a Wonder Girl and a Supergirl. Like, it's just kind of, they're there. Like, obviously, I don't know how much they're going to touch Batman because of the fact that, like, Robert Pattinson's Batman or Matt Reeves, whatever you want to call it, Matt Reeves' Batman is its own entity and it's not going anywhere. And with all the spinoffs that they've talked about. So,
yeah, I mean, and I'm with you. Like, that would be cool. But even that, I feel like, has its own hurdles. Obviously, the success of Titans going on right now, and so it's in like, what do you recast all those characters and you tell it again? Like that's tricky. As well as now it sucks because with Black Adam we saw, and you and I talked about this in our review of Black Adam. You saw JSA was like the highlight of Black Adam for both of us, and now it's like, okay, well, shit, dude, we just saw JSA, and what are they going to recast JSA now and start that again? Like, it always feels like there's cool down time, right? So like all those things we just saw have to be cooled down on, and then we'll come back to them. And so really that only gives me, in my mind, if you're James Gunn, there's only one route you can go to kickstart your universe, and that's Green Lantern, because it's the only thing that hasn't been touched in a very long time. And it's big enough that you could start off with the Green Lantern universe. And we know James Gunn's pretty comfortable in the cosmic universe, and you rock the Green Lanterns. You can have all the orange lanterns, yellow lanterns, all that stuff. I mean, that would be a good way to start, in my opinion. To get
because he's done the cosmic stuff. So I mean, it's not like he's never done cosmic. So that's where it's easy for him to just jump in, because I mean, nobody cared and nobody really knew about who the Guardians of the Galaxy were before, he started. So it's the same thing. Like, he could come in and do, Oa and the Green Lanterns and the Green Lantern Corps and the Guardians, all that. Like,
I mean, you could almost do Blackest Night without Earth in a way. You could have Black Lanterns and all of them as well.
I mean, you could immediately just go to, the Sinestro Corps War.
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally just do the Green Lanterns, Yellow Lanterns in one movie. Like, you don't need a whole buildup.
Right. Just show, I mean, I think modern comic book movies have also proven that for the most part, you don't need origin stories anymore. Like, people aren't dumb. People have seen these characters. We can get, like, if you just cut to Green Lantern and Hal Jordan's flying around in space as a space cop, like, I think you're going to figure it out. You know what I mean? And then, like, you show up Sinestro, like, oh yeah, he used to be part of the Corps and he's kind of turned bad. Like, we can learn that on the go. We don't need a whole movie showing the fall of Sinestro. You know what I mean? I think that's the way to go, in my opinion, for like the larger characters, but I don't know, dude. I just, Peacemaker was fun. I liked Peacemaker, but I'm not gonna be able to sit through a DC universe that's completely all like Peacemaker, like a joke. I mean, like, all those characters are a joke, I'm not crazy about the Jason Momoa being possibly recast as like Lobo. That feels kind of weird to me and dumb. I don't know, dude. I mean, I'll keep an open mind, but I don't have a lot of faith.
I don't know. I'm hoping for it. I think he should have been cast as Lobo a long time ago. but they
Oh,
kind of
makes more sense as Lobo than Aquaman for sure.
100%. I don't know why they went with him. I guess just because of his popularity, like on Game of Thrones. You know, like they needed someone that was coming out of a series that was popular to like bring them to a new movie, and I guess they didn't want to go that like blonde hair, blue eyes.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he also, let's be honest, you know, he checked the box in terms of diversity in the Justice League and the DCU. You know, it was easy cast of like, hey, he fits, and you also win some extra points. Yo, Comic Grader, I don't get me wrong, he's great. I think he'd be good as Lobo, but it just feels weird. And of course, you may not even recognize him. You know, he's going to be alien digitized,
painted face,
painted face, yeah. So
he's in that new movie. I think it's called like Slumberland or something. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, is that out yet?
Yeah, it's out. It came out last month. I just been meaning to watch it, and I haven't. But I mean, he kind of looks. He's got like these horns on the side of his head. It's all like, you know, obviously it's all digital, but he's like real. I could just see him as Lobo, you know, because even the guy who played Lobo from Krypton, like that was cool. Like he was a badass Lobo. And to be honest, all it takes is just like painted up white face, a little bit of black eye makeup, and long black hair. That's all Lobo is. And just like,
never watched Krypton.
Oh yeah, no, dude, he was cool on that. Yeah, he was good in season. Krypton was a very underrated show. Like Doomsday, Brainiac, Lobo, Adam Strange. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool. You know who he looks like? He looks like Rob Zombie playing Lobo.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Basically what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. How do you right the ship? I mean, dude, you've lost like your whole Justice League. I mean, if they keep Ezra Miller, like I don't know if I can keep watching. That honestly might be the breaking point for me. If they get rid of Cavill, Godot, and Affleck, and they keep Ezra Miller, I might, out of protest.
I don't think they will.
I'm done.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very odd. And I think like you said earlier, is like what they need to do is they just need to do these movies and not have kind of like an origin story.
Yeah.
People know who these characters are. Just introduce them. You know, like Spider-Man has still never really had an origin story in the MCU because he's just established. It's fucking Spider-Man. Like we know who he is. So like same thing. Like when even like my brother and I, we watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight on Christmas Eve. And it's just like such an epic movie because of the way it's set is like, it's present, but every now and then it'll go back. Right. It goes back to, it's not like all like learning how to be Batman. It's like not him as a kid and then learning to be Batman. It's always in the present and it kind of just trickles back. So that's fine. Like, and we still never even seen that in Spider-Man. Like we've never seen him like get bit by the spider. We just know, right? Because he says it.
I mean, in No Way Home was like the closest we got to an origin when you saw, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, the death of Aunt May and the with great power comes great responsibility, you know, quote. That was like, that's probably the closest we've got to any kind of like Spider-Man origin, really, like traditional origin of Spider-Man. And they did it perfectly, you know, and they changed it. Instead of Uncle Ben, it's Aunt May, you know, like you got to change things up a little bit, but they did it so great that it was like they changed it, but it wasn't changed completely. You know what I mean? Like he is still the same character, even though that was a different way it happened. So, yeah, dude, it'll be interesting to see what happens with DC. When's Flash is what, in March?
Yeah, I think Flash is first, and then Blue Beetle, and then Aquaman.
Yeah.
And then Shazam, if I'm not mistaken, as far as like what the movies are.
Which kind of feels weird because obviously this is the last Aquaman. So it kind of feels, you know, that never does well, in my opinion. Like, so we're going into this being like, this movie kind of doesn't matter.
Oh no, Shazam is first. So let's see. Shazam is March, and then Flash is June, according to this. Blue Beetle's August, and then Aquaman is December of next year.
And so what's the word
if it comes out?
Right. What's the word on Shazam? Is it still part of the universe? I felt like I've read that it is.
Yeah, supposedly John Cena and Zachary Levi spoke very highly of him, and he says he's still on to be Shazam going forward in that universe. So
wait, John Cena? See, okay, this doesn't give me hope.
I swear, that's what I read on Instagram via like messages back and forth between.
I know, but it doesn't give me hope that John Cena is the guy that's like Oh yeah, I vetted him. Like, okay. Like what? Like, so you're making the calls, John Cena?
Well, he said it to he said it to James Gunn. I
At
I
this
don't know.
point, though, like, what can you believe? You know what I mean? Like, we saw Cavill,
Yep.
we knew Cavill was coming back. Like, nothing's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's legit.
I think it's going to be how these movies do, but for comic goers, the movies are going to do fine, but for the overall audience, like they're not gonna. Like nothing's going to be for the most part nobody's going to care, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Blue Beetle, I'm excited for. Just because it's an interesting character. It's a different
Mhm.
take, something we haven't seen. So
And
hopefully
he's someone who could stick around.
yes, for sure. I mean, they're introducing him at the right time where he has no baggage to the previous universe or the previous.
As we know, right?
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
they're rewriting if they do at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the fact that it comes out in August, I'm sure we're going to get a trailer, I would say sometime in the very early new year.
Right.
I thought we were supposed to get like new footage or new trailer of something this past Christmas, but I guess we didn't. I thought it was going to be something DC, but I guess that didn't happen. So
Didn't they say Flash is at Super Bowl?
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sure all the DCs are going to, well, definitely Shazam since it comes out in March. Flash, yeah, because that'll be June. Maybe we'll get Blue Beetle and they'll kind of see what the hype is, but I don't know. It's
Dude,
going to be rough.
I don't even know how the Flash is going to go.
I know we keep talking. You and I keep talking about that. Like, is it actually going to happen with all the Ezra Miller stuff that happened over the past year? But
now that they put the that they're paying for like commercial time at the Super Bowl, I mean, it's going, dude. Like that's not a cheap buy right there. That's even more money invested in this shit. So, it says okay. So I'm reading something about Flash. By October 2022, a script for sequel had been written by David Johnson McGoldrick, who had scribed Aquaman films. In the event the Flash performed well, Warner Brothers was not expected to retain Miller for future films due to the actor's controversies and legal issues. So, introduction of Wally West, maybe?
That's what we want.
Yeah.
Just do the Flashpoint thing and get it over and done with. But obviously, you still, how does that change Aquaman? Right? And everything that's going on with that. So I don't know, but let's get out of the TV movie talk and let's get on to some comics year in review.
Right? Yeah, let's do it.
So, of course, if you've been listening to us for the past year, last year at this time, we did the same thing. We did a couple categories. Zach and I went through them all. We kind of picked our top picks for 2021, if not some of them bled from 2020. So this year, some of the categories, and we're going to go down the line, and then we'll start off. So we have best miniseries, best limited series, best ongoing series, best or worst event, series that you didn't read that you should, kind of like a FOMO, best writer, and then best artist, whether interiors or covers. So where do you want to start? You want to start with?
I kind of don't like the order.
Yeah.
Let's start with best writers, best artist first, because I feel like the titles will get more talk. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea. I know the way we created this was comic book and related, so
and it was just off the top of your head while you were putting.
Oh yeah, of course. So simple stuff. So, let's go. Let's do best artist. I know this is not Zach's favorite. You know, Zach's not a big art guy. I'm a big art guy. So
yeah.
For myself, I actually chose, and the reason why I put best artist interiors or covers is because I didn't really know which way I wanted to go this year. With last year, whether I wanted to go interiors or cover art, or the guy does both. But for me, I ended up going with the cover artist for 2022, and I think he really stood out there this year was David Nakayama.
Okay.
Yeah, he crushed it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he crushed the whole, the current Midnight Suns covers he's been doing, all the exclusives that he did over this past year for Unknown Comics, all those like Virgin covers. There's just been so much that he's been putting out for 22. Poison Ivy, he did.
I think the Elsa Bloodstone one was one that I don't even know if that's 2022, but the Death of Doctor Strange one.
Yep. No, that was this year.
Okay, yeah. That was a great one.
Yeah, obviously the current Midnight Suns. Like I said, all the stuff that he's been doing for Unknown Comics, like he did that Dark Crisis. He did a foil for NYCC, which I just got back from CGC in a 9.8, which looked amazing. All the X-Men ones that he's been doing, all the Strange Academies that he's done as well. So yeah, man, this year's, to me, you know, top artist covers was David Nakayama for me.
Nice.
What about you, man? What about interiors or just covers?
So I think it's going to be a combo. So like you said, I mean, this was the one that was going to be kind of the toughest for me because I don't necessarily pay attention too much to like art, but the one that kind of like stood out and I'm not even saying this isn't like best, like he was the best artist of the year or anything like that, but he's been around for a while and I've really liked him in past stuff, but there was a series, I think I talked about it in like, you know, the weekly comic book reviews or weekly reads, Seven Sons, and Jai Lee doing the covers and the interior for that series was just really awesome. Like I've always really kind of enjoyed, you know what, let me be honest. When I first saw Jai Lee's art, I wasn't crazy about it. Like I was kind of like, this is kind of weird. You know, the characters the people are drawn a little weirder. And then I think the first time I actually really enjoyed it was he wrote, or he did artwork for The Dark Tower, some of the issues with that. And I was like, okay,
yep,
kind of, I'm feeling this. And then Seven Sons this past year, I really, really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great title, great story. And both the cover and the art inside it, I felt like really, really fit the story and like the arc. And I don't know how to explain that. It really felt like it fit the story being told. So I think that for me, the one that really kind of like stood out and like resonated with me was Jai Lee's this year with Seven Sons.
Well, and that's always a thing for me too. You know, for me to really like a series, the art's got to be good. And for the most part, there's a lot of series that I want to read or that I probably would read, but the art is just like, I'm just like not feeling it, you know? And it kind of, for me, it throws it off. But when an artist is crushing it on the interiors, it really makes the story a lot better. You know, AAA artists just like kill it, you know, like last year, you know, and even, you know, this year we talked about a lot of it, like Tony Daniels on stuff, Capullo on stuff.
Bermejo.
Yeah, Bermejo on his stuff is just like they're all amazing, right? And sometimes even a lot of these up and coming artists have just been crushing it on, you know, littler books, but it really makes the story, you know, like George Jimenez, who did Batman for such a long time with Tinian, like really made all those story arcs come alive.
Yeah. What's up, JLS Comics? Welcome, man. Welcome.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's move on to best writer of 2022. Why don't you go first?
Okay. For me, the best writer that I felt like was just crushing it all year long. And this is a tough one because there's been a few, man. And like, I'm going to wait to see what you say to give some honorable mentions. But for me, the best writer this year was Chip Zdarsky. I'm loving what he's done on Daredevil, Batman, miniseries, and ongoing. I really, really enjoyed both the Devil's Reign, the ongoing Daredevil. And Zdarsky's always been a good writer, but it just felt like this year, maybe the past 2 years with Devil's Reign, and now he's hit a stride that it was just knocking shit out the park. Or he's just finally in like these characters that he just, you know, and let's be honest, Batman and Daredevil, very similar characters, right? So I don't know, really loved Chip Zdarsky this year. Thought he was just, like I said, knocking it out of the park.
You scared me there for a second. You really did. Of who you picked, because I thought you were going with the same one that I picked.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know who you're. Should I take a guess?
You could take a guess, but I'm telling you, like so everybody listening, Zach and I, we have no idea, you know, who picked who. So it's gonna be very interesting if we do have any crossovers. But let me know. What do you think?
Are you gonna pick Charles Soule?
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah, because he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, you're right.
Him and Gillian are always like my honorable mention.
Okay, yeah, you got it. Yeah, Charles Soule, man. Crimson Reign, Hidden Empire, the ongoing Star Wars this year, 8 Billion Genies. Just he is crushing it for Star Wars. Like he is the definitive Star Wars writer since it came back to Marvel, without a doubt. You know, this is the final part in the trilogy with Hidden Empire, so obviously that's a big thing. This is, you know, the final part. I'm hoping it turns out better than, you know, War of the Bounty Hunters. Crimson Reign was like in the middle, right? That was kind of like an in the middle type of thing.
Did he write Bounty Hunters?
Yeah, he wrote them.
Yeah, he wrote the whole thing, right? Yeah, that one was. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was setting things up. I don't know, dude. That was a weak one.
Yeah. But then and then 8 Billion Genies out of nowhere. I wasn't like in the beginning, like, oh, everybody was like talking about it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was like, maybe I'll get to it. But I didn't start reading until like issue 3. And now it's just like a book that I need to read every month because it's an interesting concept. It's just a complete interesting concept. So
Pet's heads fall off over there? What just happened?
The one cat's over here playing with things.
Yeah, no, dude. Charles Soule always knocks it out the park. I figured you were either going to pick him or Kieran Gillen. I mean,
but Gillen what did Gillen do after Once and Future ended, really?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved him on Immortal X-Men. He's been crushing Immortal X-Men, but yeah, he hasn't really like, I don't want to sound rude, but he hasn't like stood out. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And then what about, did he do Eternals? Was he doing?
Yes, he was doing Axe, Eternals.
Okay.
Eternals,
so yeah, I guess
2021.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess there are other things that Gillen's done. I just wasn't keeping up with that stuff, so I couldn't tell you if I really wouldn't have picked him. But obviously with reading all the Star Wars that I do and then reading 8 Billion Genies was definitely my pick for 2022's best writer.
Nice. Good pick.
So, do we want to go with, do we start with like limited series? Do you want to start with the FOMO series or event?
Let's do FOMO. Let's go backwards because I kind of feel like, I don't know, best limited. Let's keep that like last, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
We'll do the FOMO, we'll do event, and then we'll kind of start from the bottom and work our way to ongoing. Perfect. So, series. So this was an interesting one that I thought about. So series that you didn't read in 2022 that you should be reading, or I should be reading. And of course, everyone knows Zach and I read a whole lot of books. We talk about it every week here on the podcast. We love, discussing of what are we currently reading. Obviously, there's titles that people tell us. There's books that you read, Zach. There's books that I read and vice versa that we don't know about. And then we end up picking them up. Mm-hmm. So for myself, and I can't believe I'm not reading the series, and I don't know why. Like, I think I have some of the exclusive variants, if I'm not mistaken, for this title, but I actually have not. I have not opened it up and actually read any of it. I think it's on issue 7 or 8. It's Poison Ivy.
Okay.
Like from DC Comics. I mean, I'm not reading it.
It's strange. Reading that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's written by Willow Wilson. She is best known for her introduction into the Marvel universe of writing Kamala Khan's Ms. Marvel from 2014. Like that whole story arc, her whole setup is exactly what the show was about. So, she's a great writer. And then you got Marcelo Takara, who's doing the art, which is just phenomenal as well. And it's Pamela Isley. It's one of my favorite like female villains from the DC universe, Batman universe. And I'm just not reading it. And I need to seriously start reading it. Before it gets too far, and then I have to pay a lot of money for some random issue that decides to increase in value.
So question, but I don't even know if you'll be able to answer this since you're not really reading it. Like, do you think the character, because obviously there's been a change with Poison Ivy of late, obviously joining the LGBTQ community almost predominantly now as a character, right? So have you heard anything? Has that changed her character arcs, her development, or like the way she goes? In terms, to be honest,
no. From the last stuff that we were, even you and I were reading, was the whole Batman, right? When she was with like the gardener and that whole thing, and part of the Green. So yeah, to be honest, that's what it is. I don't know too much about this series, other than I should be reading it because it's an ongoing series right now. It was originally slated for a limited series, but now it's ongoing. So for me, I definitely need to start picking up Poison Ivy.
Yeah, cool.
JLS. I don't even know there was a Poison Ivy series out.
The only reason I've seen it is it ongoing or is it a limited? Do you know?
It was set for a limited, but then it got picked up to go for an ongoing. So
okay.
That's as of right now. But again, those things change.
I remember seeing some of those cover Bs and they looked great. Obviously, I think a lot of times the cover Bs for DC are better than the cover As in terms of like artwork, but there were definitely some really cool ones out there.
Oh, true.
So
what about you? I know this was tough. We were discussing this.
Yeah, it's tough because like you said, I mean, read a lot of stuff. But you reminded me of something. So I have 2. one's not obviously like a 2022 book, but comes to mind because Sandman came out on Netflix in 2022, and both of us loved Sandman so much. So part of me kind of has a FOMO in terms of Sandman and reading that. Um, but I think also ongoing, like now, and you reminded me of something, is I haven't read, you've talked about it a couple of weeks now, is the 8 Billion Genies. So I haven't read that. A lot of people have been talking about that. So maybe I need to pick that up and check that out as well. But
Well, it's only going to be one more issue, so you may as well just wait, because the number one
I'm not gonna
is
buy it. I'll just read it.
yeah. If you could try to find it online or
Yeah.
something, because it's only going to be 8 issues, so it's almost done.
Yeah.
Unless I'm sure he'll do a spin-off. Obviously, it was option, so that number one was hot for a while, but I'm sure it's kind of cooled down. You can still kind of find it cheap.
Yeah, I mean, in Sandman, it just is so daunting now as well, like because it's so many issues and books and stuff to try to go back and get through. But definitely watching the show made me kind of like, man, really wish I would have read this. I really wish I could like compare, because it seemed like it was so on the nose with the show from like what people who've read the books and watched the show said. So yeah, I think that's one I maybe in the years in the future I will go back at some point and read Sandman.
Okay.
So.
Interesting choice. Okay. And again, anybody who's in the chat, feel free to drop down, feel free to drop in the comments, what some of these categories of what, your titles are. So let's go to best/worst event of 2022, whether it's indie, Marvel, DC.
Okay.
This one was a little tough.
Yeah.
There's always so many events that Marvel and DC do. But for me, and it was unnecessary. It was more of like a mini series than an event, but I feel like it'll still be considered an event. Was the latest Edge of Spider-Verse.
Well,
there was no reason that they needed to do another 5-issue mini for Edge of Spider-Verse just to create more spider characters of different races, religions, social backgrounds, sexual backgrounds. Like, just stop creating all these spiders. There's already enough of the spider characters. Like, there is no need to create, like a spider character who's a lesbian and also a paraplegic. And then there's the one that was like, what was the other one? Like a designer. I just like, I can't, like, there's just too many. The one was like the Disney princess and she sang with the little spider. And I'm like, oh, I just couldn't do it, man. I just can't get behind any of those characters this time around.
Yeah, I've never been able to. I've always thought the Spider-Verse has completely been events that are so unimportant and no desire to ever read any of those. I mean, following closely behind them are the over and over again symbiote crossover events that we get that come out. But to be honest, I didn't really feel like, for me, this was a tough one as well, because I don't feel like there was actually like a really standout good event. And, you said independent, but like, honestly, I think about events independent and I can't even come up with one. The only ones I can really think about are, I guess TMNT has an ongoing event right now, the Armageddon game, which is actually really good. I didn't think about it till right now. And then Mighty Morphin Power Rangers oftentimes do events. They had a couple really good ones, or one good one this year. Another shout out is like the Radiant Black universe, the Supermassive universe, which is really good. I love all those titles, but hadn't been a really like event in those. So I don't know, man. Best of like mediocre, I guess, events.
Or worst. Could be worst.
Well, I've got both. I mean, they're all mediocre, but the best of all of the mediocre events was, I guess, the Avengers, X-Men Eternals was pretty decent. And it might just be because I'm an X-Men fan so much, but I really love Kieran Gillen. I thought his writing was good. The lead up from the Eternals run was really awesome. It was a very interesting concept, but like all Marvel events, it peters out at the end and it just kind of like, it goes on too long. Like, we don't need all the tie-ins, all the explanations that don't actually matter or go anywhere. Just keep it in a nice, concise 5 issues and boom, move on. The worst event, dude, DC's Dark Crisis was garbage. I mean, that shit took like, that was all year. I looked back when we were looking at like, when I was trying to come up with my list, I was looking at all the emails I sent out for like my pull box, like all year long. And I realized back in like January, I was getting like Dark Crisis books or something like January or February. Like they've been doing that shit all year. That's embarrassing, in my opinion. Like it took you all year to tell a garbage story. Like that didn't go anywhere. It didn't really like the Justice League disappeared, and then you had like the backup teams, and then lo and behold, surprise to everyone, Nightwing leads them. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, who else would it be? You know, like, it just, I don't know, dude. Dark Crisis kind of sucked, and there was a lot of tie-ins that were garbage. I don't know. I thought Dark Crisis was horrible.
Okay.
So. Oh, there's our Fortnite, buddy. Comic Dunes.
Hey, thanks, Jeff, for popping in here. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff that 22 and that we've talked about that. There's events that have there's series that need to finish and they just cannot finish 9, 10, 11 issues in 1 year. They start in January or they start in December of last year and they're still going to this date and they still have 2 or 3 more issues. It's just like, how can you not write a 12 issue mini and just finish it up in 1 year?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't give me much hope because I know that it's like setting up this next era of DC, like what Dawn of DCU is coming out.
And we haven't even really discussed that because there's not much information, but once there is, we definitely are going to, we're going to talk about that for 2023.
And since we're kind of talking about events now, I mean, 2 events that are simultaneous, well, not simultaneous, but one that's going on that I know you have not liked at all is Batman versus Robin. And then we have the Lazarus Planet that's kind of coming out of the pages of Batman versus Robin. Like, I don't have a lot of hope for DC right now. Like all the stuff they're putting out is not very good. Besides like the classic stuff, like the Batman ongoing and everything. But anyway, events, man, so much fun. They're not, dude, like honestly, they're not fun anymore. They really aren't.
They're, the only thing that I thought about putting on there is like a best event, but again, it's like a best / mediocre was like the Shadow War. Like the crossover that had Batman, Deathstroke, the Robin, like that was like a cool, like,
because the Robin title was so strong.
Yeah. So it was like kind of intertwined with like those 3 titles. Like that would have been like my title if I would have said like a mediocre, but I didn't even want to do best event. Yeah. I just went right to worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on. We got 4 categories left. Best mini series up to 12 comics. 10 to 12 comics. So it could be less than that or up to that one. For me, it's it was very tough for this one. It really was. Like I didn't really want to pick something. I wanted to pick something that I've talked about before, but I also didn't want to pick something so obvious. But for me, up to 12 and it's still going and I don't know where it's going to end, but Dark Knights of Steel.
Okay.
Has been very solid.
Okay.
For, a mini series because it's on 9. They just came out with that Gathering Storm, which is like they reprinted 1 through 3. They did the one shot. So
had a couple one shots, I think, right?
Yeah. But that's, I know you just spoke about DC and how it's been shitty, but I think the Dark Knights of Steel has been very solid. This whole like King Arthur meets the DC universe. The characters are changed. Like that's been very solid for them. But at the same time, it also takes away from everything that's been in continuity because between that, the Deceased, and what's the other? There's like, I think there's one more in DC.
DC versus Vampires.
There's the DC versus Vampires. That all this stuff is happening and you're reading it and you're like, do I really understand these characters don't make sense in the current continuity of DC? So, but for me, I enjoyed Dark Knights of Steel very heavily this past year.
The thing about those events or those little like out of continuity storylines, like they're cool, but if you are a new reader, that's not like, it's only cool to see characters like Batman as like a medieval or DC versus Vampires, like what Batgirl does in this universe. You know what I mean? But you have to honestly kind of have some knowledge of that character to really get the most out of that story. So for a new reader, I don't really feel like those events are those are great titles to get into, but they're fun for us. Like they're fun for us,
Even like DC Vampires, there's so many characters that show up that if you don't know who the character is, you're just like,
yeah. Did you read All Out War, like the 6-issue mini with like that focus on Deathstroke?
Nope. I'll wait. Did it finish or is it still?
No, they're all both done. DC Vampires is completely done.
I know DC Vampires is done. I didn't realize that the other one was done as well.
Yeah.
Like I tried to stick to the main title, but I'll probably end up go back and I'll read.
It's decent.
All Out War.
Yeah, it's decent.
So what about you? Best miniseries?
That is not what I thought you were going to pick. So
I know that exactly. Can I tell you what you thought I was going to pick?
Yes.
Was it Do a Power Bomb?
Yeah, I mean that's my pick. I mean, if you're not picking it, that's my pick. I mean, that is literally the best thing that was written this year, in my opinion, across the board. Whether it's 10 issues, 12 issues, minis, limited, ongoings, the best thing written this year was Do a Power Bomb. By far, hands down. I don't think there's any competition on anything that was written better than that. Such a great series, and I couldn't be like happier that you told me about it, for sure. But Daniel Warren Johnson, Do a Power Bomb. Oh man, if you missed it, pick it up. Pick up the trade. I think the trade's coming out here shortly. You can get it 7 issues. Such a fun story, gripping story, emotional story, just so awesome. So amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But my backup, because I figured this is what you were going to pick, so I had a backup. So, and this kind of goes with my Chip Zdarsky talk earlier. My backup is Batman the Knight.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so good, man. And I didn't go into it thinking much because, you know, how many times we kind of talked about origin stories earlier, right? When we were talking about movies, and it's like, oh god, Batman's origin again, you know. And I didn't really go into it expecting much. And after issue like 2, I was like, wow, this is really, really good. And it was fun. I liked how you saw kind of like a more fuller introduction and background origin of Ghostmaker. All the different interactions and like teachers that Bruce Wayne had along the way. It very much was Batman Begins-esque. I thought it was awesome. Really enjoyed Batman the Knight. 10 issues, Chip Zdarsky. Check it out. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I tried to think of non-Batmans because there were a few, but yeah, that one's definitely up there for 2022. Good pick for our limited series. So next up is, for miniseries, I should say. So next up we have best limited series, up to 20 for a limited series. Why don't you go first on this one?
Okay, so this one didn't begin in 2022, more ended in 2022. And this is another one that you told me about, is Silver Coin. I mean, Silver Coin, 15 issues, so fun, anthology, horror stories. Every issue was great. Every issue was good, if not great. There was definitely some that you were like, okay, I still liked it, but it was always a good issue. And then there was just some great ones. So yeah, for me, Silver Coin from Image Comics, and I can't even tell you like the writers, because if you don't know much about Silver Coin, there's a writer every issue, a new writer pretty much. I mean, you had some reoccurring ones for sure, but so awesome. 15 issues. I hope they come back and do some more later, but if not, I really enjoyed what they did with the 15.
Yeah, it needs to get picked up for something for sure. You know, it's that perfect
that, like,
horror
feel.
Yeah, like Black Mirror. Like it's in that perfect world of, it doesn't matter where you watch it. Because even like, again, Black Mirror is the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter what season you start with. Like every episode is different. No characters reoccur. You know, it's always a different thing based on like technology, and this is based on a coin, and it's all horror. So, I mean, what is it, like 2 issues, or like one is like part 1 and one's like part 2, right? The Covenant issues are the only ones that like are reoccurring for the most part.
And I think the last issue kind of harkens back to a previous story as well.
Yeah. But for the most part, yeah, you're right. I mean, Silver Coin was a great one for 15 issues. And again, you know, we always talk about that here on the podcast. You know, where's that sweet spot? Where are things need to end? Where things need to continue? And it initially was only 5, and it got picked up for a little bit more, and they were able to continue that same tone, the same horror, changing writer every issue, which was great, because I think that's what really stands out about that title, is that every issue was done by the same artist, but the different writers on every issue was really nice to see.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, for best limited series up to 20, and we briefly touched on this, but Robin, the last Robin series with Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, 17, what was it, 17 issues, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yeah. So with an annual, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Joshua Williamson wrote it. It's fucking Damian Wayne. Like, he's the best for me. Like, he's the best Robin by far. You know, like, it was just completely different than what I would have expected, because Damian's already had a previous series. It was written and art was done by Pat Gleason after that whole Batman and Robin New 52, and that whole series was great by itself. But then he came out with his own series, and it wasn't that good. You know, Nightwing always gets his thing. Tim was on the not New 52, but he was on the Rebirth Detective. But then you finally get Damian in his own title. Because remember, even Damian was on like Teen Titans for a while.
Right.
And he was okay in that. Like, I thought that was a cool team. It was done, had great art, but Damian needs to be by himself. Like, but between having the Lazarus tournament, you know, and then again, throwing in the Shadow War with Deathstroke and also Batman, phenomenal, you know, 17 issues. And now, of course, we have the runner-up of Robin, Tim Drake's, but I can't even read it.
Yeah. No, you're right. The Robin run was great. And it's very much like it's Robin meets Mortal Kombat as well, in a way, because they're on that Lazarus Island having like the whole fighting. You get the reintroduction, I guess, if you will, into like the main universe now of Connor Hawke showing up. You had a lot of new characters. You had oh god, Flatline, and what was Deathstroke's other son's name or clone? Man, I can't remember.
Yeah, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he was there, and it was Dead something. Whatever. And it definitely feeds into the DC or the Batman versus Robin as well. Like the story, you have Mother Lazarus or whatever her name was. But yeah, it was a really good story, dude. I enjoyed that one as well myself.
Yeah, I was even going to go even more with, and it hasn't finished, but even like it made the Deathstroke Inc. Ongoing a little bit stronger as well. And that's still going on too. That still has, right now, currently, it's still in the Deathstroke Year 1. And I spoke about it a few months ago when they did Deathstroke Year 1, Part 1. I think they're on like Part 5, maybe, or Part 6. But even that series is very good for DC. And I think it's underrated. And I think once it finishes, people are going to want to go back and actually read it, because Deathstroke is a really awesome character that is just who's underrated. Because everybody looks at the villains and it's just like, well, what's out on DC? It's Joker, right? Yeah. Who are the only characters? Joker and Punchline, I think, are the only ones that have their own titles for villains. It's obviously Batman.
I mean, Deathstroke has to end with the way Dark Crisis ended. I mean, moving on to the DCU, there is a specific place where Deathstroke is.
Yeah.
Like in his character that like it has to, like Deathstroke Inc. has to be done, or has to be ending like in a week or something. I don't know if it's still
because they're currently still doing the Year 1, so it's all like way, you know, kind of the whole, again, like Batman Year 1. So but yeah, great picks. I love Silver Coin, and I think the Robin is something that everyone should read. So next up, we got 2 categories left. We have best series up to 30 issues, and I feel like this is
I think we're picking the same one here, right?
Yeah, we're gonna pick the same one
here. Yeah,
we're back
to future.
Yeah, Ones in Future.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead. You could talk about Ones in Future.
No, I mean, you know, we've talked about it a lot on the podcast, and I think my origin, if you will, for like the fantasy genre and everything as a kid was I was always massively into Arthurian legend. I mean, I have on my nightstand next to my bed, I have La Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Mallory sitting there, and I read parts of it, you know, occasionally every night. So I love Arthurian. To see it come into the comic book world and be written by like such a superstar writer as Kieran Gillen, I mean, amazing. Now, at first, I wasn't super crazy about King Arthur being like the bad guy initially. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh shit, that kind of sucks. But I really loved how they tied together not just Arthurian legend, but obviously like the Robin Hood stuff. You got Shakespeare stuff. You got all like British literature and British legends kind of mixed up in there. And it was just art. Dan Mora, Kieran Gillen crushed it, man. 30 issues, perfect.
Yeah. I can't. I need to reread it for sure. You know, and I know it's a series that typically, you know, like you and I, we get our series and when they finish and then we sell them. And I feel like this is a series that I kind of want to stick and hold on to unless I buy like the omnibus.
There's a really good collected edition for this, actually. A really good
Yeah.
hardcover slipcase that you could get.
Yeah. Kevin showed it to us when he was on from
right.
Kevin
Yeah.
from Shortbox. When he was on, he picked it up. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I definitely want to pick it up, but this was like the one series that I bought like everything, right? You know that I bought all the cover A's, the 1 in 10s, the 1 in 25s. Like I absolutely love this series. And you know, and again, like it's over, it's done with, but it does leave it open for another volume,
Yeah.
without a doubt. So I mean, you know, if you don't know that by now, go back and read it.
What was that? You picked up all of them except for what? You missed like one issue.
Oh,
What was
like
that random issue that you couldn't get?
well, there was
12
for
or
a time I couldn't get 10, but I think right now I'm missing one of the 1 in 25s and like the 14 or 15, and it's like stupid expensive. But
Gotcha.
yeah, for some reason, like I got everything, but then like at the end when I was ordering, I missed like 29. But somehow I read 29, and I don't remember how I read it. Like if I read it at the shop, and then I didn't buy it. So then I was like going through everything. I was like, shit, I'm missing number 29. Like,
It's the worst.
oh, the absolute worst for when you think you have everything and when you catalog everything. Like in CLZ, like today I just got an order of books that are sitting over at my table over there from DCBS.
Mhm.
And I literally need to catalog them, because if I don't catalog them before I put them in the short boxes, I'm gonna forget. And then like I'll be at a shop and I'll be like, oh, I'm missing issue number 15 of Darth Vader. But I'm like, I know I ordered that. Like, why wouldn't I have ordered that? And that's what happened. So yeah. So final category for 2022's comic books of this year. Best ongoing series, whether it started this year or it has been going on for quite a long time.
Mhm.
This one, I got to tell you, was probably the hardest one to do.
Okay. You start.
So I got 2.
Okay.
I have 2, and I really don't know where to put them, either honorable mentions or just picks like completely. So for me, and I feel like the first, I'm going to go with the first one for honorable mention. So the first one that I have, and I think it's because, you know, both these titles went back to Marvel, the Alien and Predator series. So Predator Ongoing.
Okay.
Predator Ongoing this year has been very solid for me. I know it's only like 5 issues in, but it's an ongoing. It's for me. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Like I haven't been excited to read like a Predator series since the way long time ago of Dark Horse, right?
Mhm.
So honorable mention definitely goes to Predator. I think everybody should check it out. Very interesting story about a human female whose parents were killed by a predator, and she basically hunts down and kills predators and is looking still for the one that killed her parents. And it's all very futuristic, right? So it's still like, it's cool because, you know, Predator, the timeline isn't like Earth. It's not like 2022. Like it's way different. So honorable mention definitely for me is the Predator series right now. And then for ongoing, and I just can't, I had to put it on there because I think this series is just, every issue is great. And it's not a long ongoing series, but Carnage.
Okay.
Yeah. The last Carnage series, I think, went like 15 issues. But man, this series, Ram V doing it, I love it. It's fucking Cletus Cassidy the way he should be. Like he's a sadistic, it's killer. It's not him, Cletus, but like Cletus was always like a murderous person, and like the Carnage series has always been super violent, and that's the way that this should be done. Like it should not be like a PG or PG-13 series. It's literally a rated R series. And that's the reason I love this series so much. It's almost like if they really would do like a Black Label in a way, like Marvel comics, like,
this is a surprising title at Marvel for sure.
Yeah. Like if they would do like the Max comics, like when they had like Punisher and like, all like, that and Moon Knight and all that stuff. Like there would be like the Marvel Knights, like, I think this would be an amazing series to do on like a really high level like that. So yeah, man, best ongoing series. I mean, I know it's not a lot of issues in, but for me, like there's a lot of stuff right now for DC, Marvel, indie stuff that I could have chose, but I went with that one for 2022. What about you, man?
It's on Carnage real quick. It's what's cool about it is like it's interesting because you kind of get two. You get Carnage the symbiote, and then you get Cletus Cassidy. So it's like a dual storyline. Like you're seeing the symbiotes separated from Cletus doing his own thing, and then you have Cletus doing his own thing as well. And it is really good. It's really dark. My fear is Summer Symbiotes ruining the title. Because
we have like 6 months before that happens, right?
I know, but you're gonna have build up and like set up prior to that to getting the storyline. You're gonna have this because it's inevitable that they can't just leave him alone, letting him do his own thing. They're gonna have him meet up with Spider-Man. They're gonna have him meet up with Venom, and it's gonna ruin it. That's my fear because it's just so great right now with, the serial killer that's with the Carnage symbiote, and then you have the cop who's kind of like a host, so to speak, to Cletus. It's very, very interesting. So yeah, you're right, dude. It's really good. For me, man, I've got 3, and I don't really know what is the number 1. So it's kind of like a 3-way tie, but these are the titles like I'm really, really enjoying. Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, I think is so good, with Daredevil and Elektra both leading the Hand, recently married, taking over the Hand taking over and fighting the Hand, but like just going at it. They got Stick. They're creating their own kind of army. They just liberated a bunch of like C-team villains from the Raft and like have enlisted them into their army and stuff. It's so good. And in the crossover that it's going on with my other title that I want to say is Jason Aaron's Punisher is awesome as well. So you got the Punisher who's now kind of like leading the Hand in a way as like the head assassin, and just kind of, I mean, I guess we're far enough along that I can say this is not spoiler alert. The resurrection of the Punisher's wife, which is like the defining moment of the Punisher's life, right? Is the death of his family. Her coming back just brings like so much like new story to the Punisher, like what he'll be like. And then now he's leading the Hand to keep her alive, to keep her resurrected. And he tried to get his kids back, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I'm really loving both those titles. And the fact that they cross over so much is just really, really great. And the Punisher, you also have him like going up against Ares, the god of war, who is awesome in the Marvel universe as well. Kind of was recently, last we saw him, a good guy on like Mighty Avengers and whatnot, I think like years and years ago, but now is kind of a little bit bad again. But it's awesome. The Punisher's great. And then my third title that I'm really enjoying, this is definitely a 2022 title that came out, is the new Ghost Rider by Ed Brisson. Is really fun. I like how Johnny is kind of alone. Yeah, we did have that issue where they had to bring in fucking Wolverine.
Of course, yeah.
They always do. But we got a new villain in Exhaust showing up. We have the new character, Talia Warroad, who's in it as well. Somewhat of a love interest foil kind of teammate for Johnny Blaze. And then solicitations are obviously showing that Danny Ketch is coming soon. So I really enjoyed Ghost Rider. The art's been great. It's got a creepy supernatural horror feel to it, like Ghost Rider should.
Yeah.
And really great. So, I mean, those are my titles: Daredevil, Punisher, and Ghost Rider.
And they're all titles that aren't really, they don't have a lot of issues, right? I don't think.
Right.
None of them are over 10, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they're all kind of under 10. I think Ghost Rider's at like 8. Daredevil might be 8 or 9. And same with Punisher. Yeah. 9.
Yeah. It's like we really didn't choose titles that were, like obviously, yeah, we could do Batman ongoing has been amazing with Chip Zdarsky. You and I both love it right now. But, I feel like ongoing titles needed to be something different than like the norm. I feel like it was a lot tougher, when Zach and I, came up with these categories. It was really tough. Like I had to go through like my CLZ app, go through, thinking of what I've read over the past year and like really think about like, we've read a lot of titles and we talk about a lot of stuff each and every week here on the podcast. And there's just so much to choose. Yeah. And, I didn't know what I was going to pick for anything until like I saw like one issue for something and I was like, oh yeah, that was a good series. And like, all right, let's do this one. So like,
yeah.
but yeah, ongoing. There's just so much that you could choose from. But like, was it really defining for 2022? I think a lot of these newer series and newer titles for 2022 have really been awesome. Like you said, like for, me, like Punisher, Punisher, Carnage, Predator, Ghost Rider, Daredevil has been, but all the titles have been absolutely amazing, and I feel like they're titles that everybody should be reading if you haven't picked them up because, shit, I'm reading Ghost Rider. I haven't read Ghost Riders other than like Cosmic Ghost Rider, which isn't really like any of like the main Ghost Rider, characters, but I haven't read a Ghost Rider since like the 90s. So
Yeah.
for me to like really pick up Ghost Rider this year and read it and thoroughly enjoy it, of how awesome and like you said, like the horror aspect it is pretty badass. Like I'm loving it. Like I didn't read any of the Robbie Reyes stuff. Like so,
Yeah.
that's it. I liked it. I
Yeah,
liked
man.
I think we had did a good year with all the comic stuff.
Oh, for sure, dude. I mean, and we really didn't have. I feel like we had more crossovers last year on our titles, and this year it was just the once a feature. I was sure you were going to pick Do a Powerbomb though. That's why I was prepared for a backup.
I thought about it, but DC did put out a lot of titles.
Mhm.
And it just I didn't know where, even like I think one of my backups for the mini, and I think I have one more, there's one more issue is obviously, and I feel like I talk about it each and every month too, is the Batman Beyond.
Oh, Beyond the White Knight.
Yeah, Beyond the White Knight. Like that's just another series that I'm just like I love it. Like Sean Murphy doing the art, doing the writing, creating that universe from like the previous two titles. Like it's just awesome. Like the one shot with Red Hood, like it's just like a different universe. And again, like the character, if you know the bad characters, you understand it. And I'm gonna be sad like once it's done, but
I can't believe you didn't pick Captain Marvel as your ongoing.
if I would have picked ongoing for titles that need
You
to
want to
end,
end? She's got a crossover with X-Men coming up though.
yeah,
The whole Brood storyline, which I'll
I don't
probably
know. I don't know. I think according to solicitations, it's done at 45, but who the hell knows?
Really?
So,
Is it? I don't know if that's true because I saw X-Men, they have connecting covers for a couple X-Men issues.
did the latest submission solicitations come out? Because according to 46 is what I have as the last, which is February, which is Revenge of the Brood Part 4. So
I saw
yes,
I saw March solicitations. I definitely saw X-Men in there with I thought Brood stuff. I don't know if it Captain Marvel or not.
okay.
So
Yeah, I'm thinking 45 is going to be, or 46 is going to be the last, and then I can absolutely list this entire series, and I'll be so happy.
yeah.
And because it literally takes up a good, obviously 46 issues plus like the cover A's, cover B's. Every now and then I'll get the variant, another variant. And sometimes some of these Captain Marvel titles have 3 covers, and it's just like I end up just clicking down and ordering all of them, and I'm like, why? When I know that I'm going to sell them, or I'm not really trying to keep this stuff. So,
Right.
but so that's it, everybody. That is our year in review of comics. Season 2, episode 51. The next time you'll be hearing us, we'll be in season 3.
Yeah.
We'll be changing some
Finale
stuff
episode.
up. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we appreciate everybody, that's taken the ride with us over the past 2 years. For anybody who's new listening to the podcast, we really appreciate it. Zach and I have a lot of fun doing this each and every week.
Mhm.
Typically we don't do the live YouTube thing because of course this is an audio podcast, but this is basically the same way that if you're watching this now live on YouTube, is how we do it. We typically just record it and then it just gets chopped up and we do the audio portion. So, for 2023, if anybody wants to do anything specific, again, we're always open for stuff here on the podcast. You want to throw down some, some questions, because obviously that's what always our favorite thing is, listening to the community. We try to go to as many conventions as possible. We always say that we're going to do interviews and we never do interviews. That's why we get people here on the podcast, because it's a lot easier.
You know what though? Like I do. Oh, at the cons. Yeah.
That shows. Yeah.
The hope is this year we'll be getting a lot more interviews on the podcast of like writers and artists and stuff. We want to try to do more of that. It's kind of the hope for season 3. Obviously more cons as well, but I got a baby on the way and that might make things a little bit more difficult, but gonna try to make that work. There's some There's some hope that I might be on the East Coast sometime next year as well. So that makes a lot of opportunities for Justin and I to meet up more in person and do more cons and stuff. So season 3 could be a big season for the Comic Con podcast.
Yeah, definitely. So, final word, Zach, before we get out of here.
No, man, great year. Another fun year. I really enjoy doing this every week. It never feels like it's like a chore doing it. There's always something to talk about. Even when there's nothing to talk about, there's always something to talk about, right? So I love it. I love being here. Another great year. Thanks again for all you guys listening. Thanks to you, Justin, obviously, for being on here with me every week as well. And thanks to all of our guests, man. We had some great guests this year, friends and creators and content creators throughout the year. Thank you so much for letting us do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. For everyone that has been checking us out all year, for the new people, we appreciate everybody. We said it last week on the podcast. We don't care if we're got 100,000 listens, if we had 50 listens, we care about the people that are listening to us, the people that are hanging out with us, live right now on YouTube. It's fun. We do what we do. We love what we do. We're not a speculation channel. We're not like a top 10. We just come out here. We talk news. We talk articles. What Zach and I think. We love having the guests on here. There's so many people that we've met this past year, and there's so many people that want to come on next year. And, we are starting to build out the schedule for 2023. So, look forward to, some changes for 2023. Zach and I will always be here. Zach, it's been an absolute pleasure over the past year as well. Our friendship continues to grow with the podcast and outside of this place. So, that's it for season 2, episode 51, our year in review. We appreciate everybody
in the books.
That's it, baby, for the Comic Con podcast. You'll be hearing us again in 2023. Peace out, everybody.
Later.